Hey everybody, this is Rydo and we're back to No More Heroes. So, yeah. We were kind of in the middle of running around the overworld, and so I guess we're back to that. I exited out of the game and relaunched it, which will put my vehicle in its default spawn location, but otherwise everything else is assumedly exactly the same, because the status of things in the overworld are only, in a very binary sense, there or not there. So we're looking for these orange Levikov balls now that we've unlocked the store that can make use of the Levikov balls. Why does he want Levikov balls? They didn't really explain that much. So why the shop wants Levikov balls. Almost certainly there isn't a way here in which every time we get into the overworld we're going to be handed another collectible. I think we are at the end, probably, as far as collectibles. Oh, we do now have an A dash button as an option when we hold A down. That, I believe, was potentially unlocked by having Levikov balls. Alright, so that is going to make running around this area and running around the world easier. That highlights how a higher skill rating could be achieved, certainly by now running through the assassination missions with this dash. This dash is slowly draining your energy bar, but it's not hurting your health, and your energy bar is refilling. And there's just like no telling whether I've missed another one of these trash cans somewhere or not. It seems like I probably found them all. And I think if we just generally run north, we'll see another spot to investigate. Yes. So yeah, we are just absolutely killing the idea of the overworld being something to play with, which is going to give a better experience. What often happens in video games as they're testing it is that the developers of games will get so good at it, or they'll be playing versions of the game where all the skills are unlocked to test everything, that they don't really get a good feel for. I was trying to see if I could maybe jump. I don't think there is a jump over fences, because if they introduce jumping to this open world, that would be annoying, because then you could go anywhere and you'd probably see a bunch of glitches. There might be a very good default rule that if you can't make an open world where jumping is an element, you shouldn't make an open world in the first place. Of course, you could probably just narrow down that rule to you shouldn't probably make an open world in the first place anyways. Here we have a shipping yard. We'll check the map, even though it's slow to get to the map. Okay, so I need to go to the left because I missed one. But yeah, the ability to now run nearly as fast as driving at normal speed really eliminates the hassle of summoning your motorcycle and driving. And once you had this element in the game, you could have left the driving mechanic on the cutting room floor, but I bet they spent so much time on it that they felt the need to include it. Plus, I imagine they felt like it was a big selling point to have an open world driving mechanic in the game. I disagree with that. No, we need to just go straight to get to the other side of the map again. You are likely running out of spots or things that would point you towards trash bins. I don't think there's really that many trash bins even left, unless they spawn in more trash bins in every chapter. It's probably not worth it to be in a big open world, because we've already found all the hidden cache that's on the grass. So it's probably a lot better to stay in these areas where the buildings are going to be repeated and the chance of a trash bin showing up that we haven't opened is going to be higher.
Yeah. Whoa.
We need 250,000 LBs, so you definitely aren't going to get that in trash bins. Now, when you're on grass, your running ability goes away because pressing A then finds the secret hidden caches. And if there are secret hidden caches that are not marked on the map at the moment, I think the odds of you finding them are pretty low. These Moai heads still don't make any sense. Little experiment, I suppose, there of just, we need some houses, let's see what it would look like if we made a housing district in the middle of what is clearly more of an industrial district. Alright, we're getting close. Now, should have been able to just see that on the radar without going to the map. And if you completely run out of energy, you do then have a break you take there.
Yes.
So I guess there is still a slight advantage to potentially driving around if you just need to move very quickly. Let's see, we need to go to the other side of this road. I guess I could take on this challenge again. This is the challenge I did off screen. We have slight improvements now, but not a significant amount of improvements. The main trick, I think, is to stay locked on with the left trigger. And I think I took damage there, so yeah. I'm not really in any better situation to finish that mission than I was before. Like, the only thing that is going to make that situation better is if I just get really good at locking on targets and dodging targets. I've already been here. Yeah, once you introduce a motorcycle type mechanic though, then you have to introduce super long roads, and there can't be too much on the road. They could have gone with an idea of running over more things to get rewards. If there was kind of like a GTA style, well, I wouldn't even call it a GTA style. If there was something that was closer to like some of the
Yep.
Lego City games, or the Lego Marvel superheroes, I think is even better than Lego City with this, where they have a Lego New York, and in that Lego New York you have all kinds of races. Like if there were rings here that would start a race and you drove through them, and then you would get a small reward in LBs for finishing the race, that would give you something to do at the very least. While driving around. Like, this could be a game where you would drive around and run over people and like slice their heads off. That would be kind of arbitrarily violent, but this is not a game that's really going to shy away from being arbitrarily violent. Right. So I think the move here is to go south and get everything that's south, and just skip the one that's in the middle to the right. Get everything that's to the south, take on a side mission. Yeah, and as we get closer to this section, the chances of a dumpster being around, I think, are way smaller. I'm having a hard time imagining that they'd squeeze a dumpster around these buildings. What they could have easily have done in this game without increasing the violence by much is simply give rewards for crashing into trees and stoplights, and just reward bad driving, particularly in a game like this where the driving mechanic is not great anyways. And they could give small rewards that wouldn't actually be really worth grinding out unless you were just 1,000 LBs short. Let's see. And these Levikov balls have to be shown on the map because there's just no way otherwise you would ever see them. They don't spawn in fast enough. Like, I can hear them, but I'm not seeing them. Says there's one inside this mission area? Let's check that. if there is a Leverkov ball in here,
I'll miss you up good.
like how in the world
I'll miss you up good.
would you collect that? This is a different collection of enemies too. So that mission feels like it's changed and it's different. Must be some other way in which you get around here. Yep. That's exactly it. So there might be evolving situations where the open missions are better off being done multiple times, whereas at the moment it really just gives the indication that you would do it once and you would never bother to do it a second time. Nothing up here, and not particularly even a great scenic view. You know, once you move into an open world 3D environment, then you have to really start to think about, is every frame in the game going to be a visual painting, or are you going to create just a lot of ugly views? Particularly in this case, the camera has a tendency to point downward, so you never really get that feeling that it is a big open world. Anyways, let's see. Right, there's one behind me, and then there's one below me. And unfortunately, what I'm going to have to do is pause this recording. It seems to happen fairly frequently that I need to run off to the bathroom. So yeah, I'll pause this recording and be right back. Okay, I'm back. Sorry about that. There was a time many years ago when I was making content for this channel that I didn't end up running to the bathroom in the first 20 minutes very frequently, but yep, that's time has passed. Right, there should be a little to the right, and we missed one. We'll go back and get that one. Yeah, it seems to me like we're gonna get all the Leverkov balls and all of the rewards for all the Leverkov balls, and then very possibly we will never have to collect them again in the game, or they're going to just fill the map with more of them, which is also a possibility. This is going to work out fairly nicely in that we'll get the last one, then we'll be right next to the job center. We'll do the job that you're supposed to do. That I imagine there's a new unlocking job. One of the problems I would say that this game feels like is that it feels like there were abilities that he really should have had unlocked by default. Like, he should have a run by default when you hold A as soon as you get into the open world, and then they should have upgraded the run, not just unlocked the run, because it kind of feels like there is a final version of Travis Touchdown with a whole bunch of abilities that they just slowly cut out abilities to make him way worse. Alright, so the new thing here is Clean up Santa Destroyer, picking up as much garbage within the time limit, 1,000 LBs for each piece of garbage. We also need to go kind of back to the other area and upgrade our abilities. Come to think of it. Can we do that? Nope, we really can't. It seems to me like you are forced, once you do these missions and take the side jobs, into a completely different instance, which really sucks. I feel like my vehicle was probably right next to me when I walked out of the office, and I could and should have taken it. Inherently, there's really only 2, maybe 3 ways to each location, so going down the same streets multiple times is not going to reveal any new collectibles, which really all we're looking for are trash bins.
Yep.
Trash bins to collect t-shirts and small amounts of gold. This suplex pizza,
Whoa.
for instance, is a landmark, really, for just a landmark's sake. I don't think you actually ever eat there or do anything there.
Whoa.
So, yeah, you're gonna have to be better at finding things or going different routes to find things. There's, I think, one more Lovikov ball that I could have gotten. Here you have a fancy Moai restaurant called the Tiki Bar. Undoubtedly, Suda51 wanted each of these buildings to mean something, to have something associated with it. There definitely could have been a lot more game here if this was a much bigger game. We kind of know for a fact that there are video games that got released that are a third of what they were planned to be, and that they had to just cut and paste a lot of elements together to make anything close to a final product. I wouldn't be surprised if this is one of those games where ideally they had a finished product, but they went back to the publisher and asked for more money to make it twice as long, have twice as many assassins, things like that. And the publisher, if they aren't self-publishing, said no. Even if they are self-publishing, they may have said no because they didn't have the money. You want to know the unspoken rules of Santa Destroy? This is the land of freedom and anarchy. So there's nothing much here, really. Just remnants, cast-off ruins, the garbage that litters our streets. I kind of wonder if maybe they changed it to Santa Destroya in the second game. Japanese-wise, Roy, R-O-Y, is too many syllables in a row. They would add an A sound or some kind of vowel sound where it would be Ro-ya. But in Japanese, this may be a different name for the city completely. Mark the remnants of your lives. You follow me. Each piece of garbage is a lost soul. So what a better way to spend your life saving lost souls. A true garbage man can bring peace to the dead. It's taken me 12 years to realize that's truth. You've got potential, a soul that can talk with garbage. The god of garbage will be watching. Go save that garbage. No bikes that pollute the air are allowed in this environmentally friendly mission.
3, 2, 1.
Okay. So. So this is a very good example of what you would do in Japan if you were picking up trash, and some Japanese people do this, where they will make it almost like a flash mob to pick up trash and collect it and then take it to their own homes for it to actually be collected by proper authorities. The fact that you can kick the trash makes this a more difficult challenge. And this is obviously items with physics on it, so this is an interesting experiment of having potentially destructible items or items that you could kick around and bump into while playing the game in other sections. But noticeably so far we have not seen anything like that, and I bet this is the only point where an item is given physics versus an item just being permanently glued to its physical spot in the open world or anywhere else. This minigame is obviously a experiment in programming with a 3D physics engine of some sort. I doubt that this engine that this game is made on is something like Unreal. It's more open source just because of the age of the game. So if you were going to remake this game, you probably would make it in the Unreal Engine, and it would be learning everything all over again, but it would almost certainly come out as a better product and be easier to program, because a lot of the elements of video games like this have already been solved programming problems that you can share code between different developers, and the Unreal Engine can handle a lot of it itself.
Easy.
And by potentially remaking this game in something like the Unreal Engine, you have a higher chance that if this was an Unreal Engine 5 remake, it would run better with just a slight change to be recompiled in Unreal Engine 6. It's fairly obvious here you would not have gotten all that trash, and the actual running is not that useful. Hey, you third rater, I've got no job for you. Something a little shadier perhaps, but works all the same. I've sent an introduction ticket to my associate. The road to becoming first rater is long and hard. Get your butt in gear. I'm censoring the phrase a little bit. Alright. So let's check the map. Like, we are here. I think maybe have gotten all the Levikov balls. Just zoom in and see if that is the case. Yeah, it seems like we picked them up. So it makes a lot of sense to go to the gym to the left and the bar to the left and get those upgrades before we take on this mission, because this mission is just going to send us in different directions. Definitely does feel though like you're going to potentially
I know. You want that, right?
I still have to run around the entire game multiple times. Alright. So level 2 bench press to train to increase strength. And this is the button mashing one. Well, of many button mashing ones. So I'm just putting my eyes downward and focusing my fingers and eyes on tapping the A button as much as possible. So if level 2 decided to do anything different, like throw in a different button prompt, I wouldn't even see it. I am that confident that this is always just going to be around the idea of tapping A. And maybe this is really a case that as your strength goes up, these training sessions get easier. So the most difficult upgrade was the first upgrade. That's counterintuitive for a video game, but logical compared to the real world. But yeah, 7 extra seconds there. Training to increase maximum vitality also. And this is just up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down. Like, I don't see a way that you could really screw this up in any way. I'm not really moving in the point with the button prompts, so it is possible that I am getting out of cycle and could do this a little faster, but that worked perfectly fine. And that's all we can do with the training.
Training is not over.
So even if you get all the collectibles in the game, you still are going to have every new chapter is going to push you towards coming back to each of these areas and these sections.
What do you want?
Like, there are 4 more of these. Jumping slash will take. Just multiple trainers. Clearly, the idea is that you would have just multiple influences as an assassin, and that would require multiple trainers to increase it. Increasing the range of my grab does sound like that could be very useful in boss fights, and boss fights are where we've really had the biggest struggle. Jumping down attack to be performed. I think most of these attacks are when you press 2 buttons though, and so I probably won't hit both buttons to ever do any of these attacks very often, because I'm just not that interested. I'm not used to pressing 2 buttons. I'm not used to pressing 2 buttons at the same time. Most games these days never would ask you to press 2 buttons at the same time, and if they were going to do that, it would be something closer to pulling a left bump and then a button, or a left trigger and a button, or hitting even something on the D-pad and pressing a button, a face button, A, B, X, Y. It's very much out of style to have a game where you'd press A and B at the same time, or X and Y. What's funny is we still really are at a point where you could add some more buttons to a controller and it would kind of make sense, although a newer technology, something completely different, would be more useful. I'm skipping through this dialogue since it is kind of just not that much. The final ball, I've played my part. Travis, you are now looking at yourself. What you see in the mirror, that is what awaits you. It's your fate. Make of it what you wish. Continue down the path of murder, and this is what awaits. But hell, don't get me wrong. This isn't all bad. Nothing awaits you beyond the limits of killing. There's no scenery from that peak, no pot of gold, no nirvana. But that's not to say the scenery is so awful. If that's what you wish to gaze upon, then by all means continue your death march. No hesitation, kill, kill, kill. I've played my part. Travis, be the beast.
Keep practicing.
So potentially, we'll never have another reason to go into that area. I think we will be able to go into that area if we want to. I guess the question to ask would be, should we go to that area? Let's see what happens if we press it now and enter again and just see what the prompts are.
Huh? What do you want?
There's nothing left for me to teach you, Pew. I think I just sobered up a tad. The blood flowing within my veins is made of from Dinky Bosatsu. This sake from Japan rocks my world.
Keep practicing.
I guess that does mean there is a Japan in this world. So, it is not the nuked Japan, I guess, of Killer 7. I think they could very well, tongue-in-cheek, introduce the idea that these are in the same universe as Killer 7, but it would be hard to really make that make sense, because there's just way too much craziness that happened on a geopolitical scale in Killer 7.
Travis, you couldn't have come over at a better time, huh? You're not
I guess
gonna believe
that's
your eyes.
supposed to be a Star Wars reference on the right there. It's easy to not even grasp at that. Yeah, and then of course there's a Gundam reference behind the guy. That he got a death threat email on his cell phones. Yeah, so yeah, some story. Nothing new to buy here.
Now don't get yourself killed.
I suppose, particularly back when I was an anime fan, I really did have more of a preference that anime would be somewhat under the counter, behind the shelf, somewhat hidden. It's perhaps a bit of an elitist view, but you know, with the controversies that get stirred up just for controversy's sake, for political reasons, like the hot coffee mod, for instance, in video games is a great example of that. Like there really should have not been any controversy around the hot coffee mod, and yet politicians in the United States made a big deal about it, and the news 24-hour news cycle made a very big deal about it, in part because 24-hour news and cable TV is directly threatened by, if not at this point almost completely defeated by, video games. So the idea of anime having big posters in a video store is a little was a little scary back when I was an anime fan. Nowadays it's so mainstream that if you were in a room of mixed company and there was someone who was, let's just say, a baby boomer, somebody who's like 70 years old, 75, and they have no idea what anime is, and you start to explain something as violent as like Akira, which is kind of a great example, which did play in theaters to no controversy many decades ago, A baby boomer still probably would say, well, this cartoon is a cartoon, therefore it's for kids, and this is way too violent for kids, and their line of thinking would be so rigid and they would have a problem with that. But now, in like 2023, if you were in mixed company, anybody who's like in their 30s will have known, well, they grew up watching Dragon Ball Z and those kinds of animes, and they know that there is a slight difference there, in that movies like Akira really aren't for kids, that they're for Japanese adults, really. How much of the money can I waste here? Guess we can try to waste it all. So it would be harder to make controversies around that, certainly. You could still probably do it. Right. So the big bucks is on these anime girls. And the name of this made-up anime is called what? It's scrolling at the bottom. The Strawberry T-shirt from Japanese anime Pure White Lover Bizarre Jelly. That's totally a made-up name. So this character is named Strawberry. This character is named Cranberry, which I don't know why you would be yellow themed and be called Cranberry. And this character is named Blueberry. This is a butt and a thong on that t-shirt. So we've just lost like all of our money at that point. So how's the game going to accommodate for that now that we've just spent it all? And there's still things to be purchased. Let's see, is there on the map anything else that we want to check out? Well, we're kind of close to a mission that I don't think we've done. So let's go that general direction. We may very well have to do missions over and over again. Let's see, are we going the right direction? And I'm gonna have to curve around and come back because there's a big wall in the middle. This is the high school. Which means this mission probably takes place in the high school. Obviously, the right move is to not buy any of these outfits until you're pretty much done with the game. Right.
3, 2, 1.
I'm gonna kill you!
I think I just took a hit. Alright, so I somehow missed taking damage here. Now it seems like the move here is to wait until just one person is triggered to attack you and not have all three attack you at the same time. But the weird part about this is definitely going to be around if this decides to respawn. You move a little bit forward as you're attacking, so there is that chance that you would trigger another one to attack you as you're fighting this person. Yeah, and you fail right at the end there. So the only way to possibly speed up this process would be to go to the right and take on the laser sword people who are the more dangerous ones first, and then take the easier enemies later.
3, 2, 1. I'm gonna kill you. Know that?
Yep.
You're a joke.
I almost failed at that point, and I did fail at that point. But there's no other trick around this that I know of. Like, you could possibly try to have a charged attack
2, 1.
and then recharge. You could try dodging, I guess, every single attack and hope that you get really, really good at dodging. Suffice it to say, at this point, I'm not really enjoying these open missions and would prefer to just go do an assassination mission. And that almost certainly is what I am going to do. Is end up just doing the assassination missions multiple times.
You guys got it. I'll give you that.
Alright. So we're gonna come over here
I'm gonna kill you.
and then pull back after just fighting one. And it is the exact distance of like locking on to them pretty much. So
Here now.
and I guess with the charged more laser sword people, it does make some sense to dodge and just avoid their strong charged attacks. So yeah, we've got 40 seconds now to run back this way, which, yeah, I can't even really run, so it does kind of seem like your run move isn't actually even valid when you would like to have it. You don't want to get too cocky here, but it does seem like you have a decent chance of victory. Barely finished on time there. So if time is a big factor, I should get a pretty low score. But I got a gold score, so obviously that's not a big factor. Of course, I am also now completely out of money. Let's go and do the assassination mission. Well, actually, let's look at the map. That map open mission disappeared, which means that this is a different mission here. And so perhaps I've damned myself to doing all of these missions by spending way too much money on costumes, which are not worth it. You definitely would have an abridged experience if you went into this game knowing that the costumes aren't going to do anything. I'm hitting the wrong button. Try that again. In this case, I imagine you probably would need a bit of a charged attack to start with. And maybe this intro with the text and press A and then the 3, 2, 1 is all a little too much. Okay, now here's the problem. Like, you do a charged attack like that, you would have to get them all in the charged attack, because you're not going to be able to run around and recharge. I wouldn't be surprised if there is a super expensive lightsaber that you can buy at the end of the game that has infinite energy and would make these kinds of fights really, really easy. And there we have another shader issue with the visuals. It's just everything is really visually dark. Lighting issues. So lock in, press Y. Come on. It seems like this shader. Maybe. Nope. It just seems really visually poorly lit.
3, 2, 1.
Like, the only thing I could think to do is to run in the corner here and try to cycle through a bunch of people. And there was one guy on the floor that I needed to hit Y and attack, and because I was locked on that guy, that left me open to the other people attacking me. Some of this definitely feels a little more random than you would think. Like,
3, 2.
because it is just a like square arena, there is not that feeling that yeah, there really isn't a feeling that there's some kind of like perfect version of accomplishing this mission that would look awesome and cool, and that there's an actual strategy behind it other than your default strategies. Let's see if what happens if I press like A and X or A and B.
3, 2, 1.
Like we should have some of these new effects. I guess maybe if you dodge every now and then, when you start to see the charge up, you might increase your odds. Like, I wasn't that far off from success that time. But you definitely have a problem here where this is becoming the default game experience, when you would have expected that the default game experience to have definitely been much more around storyline, cutscenes, and fighting specific bosses and learning specific gimmicks from specific bosses, instead of fighting these minions that these minion characters aren't really likely to teach you anything as far as what the next boss is. Like, the baseball minions did not in any way teach me to be better at taking on the Peacemaker character. Yeah. And these delinquent bandana gangsters didn't teach me to play better against Shinobi. This really is just proving that you did not miss anything by me doing one of these fights off screen. I may very well have to do multiples of these fights off screen. Alright, let's go. I think if I go a little to the left, I can get some of the enemies blocking in between the pole, which would reduce the number of people that can attack me. Honestly, if I could just get them all to be in one large group, if I could just run around in circles and get them all close to each other and do a charged attack, I could take them all out in one blow, but that seems highly unlikely. Like, clearly a more modern game would checkpoint at this one spot, and then when you die, it would say reset. And see, I saw that that guy was about to attack me, and I tried to dodge, and I wasn't really able to dodge in time. So I don't know how I would have actually survived around being hit there. Nor do I think that there's even a way to really specifically pick who you're focusing on. Yeah, like, I don't think you can, like, double tap the left trigger or hit the left bump or something to switch who you're blocking from.
Hey, he's over
So
here.
you do this, then you'd have to do this, and then you would get hit. Then the second group of people are right on top of you, but you can see that there's a third group of people behind that. I've been trying to hit with the Y button, so maybe the X button is faster, but mostly I have noticed that it seems like the Y button really is just like the default thing. I'll be darned, that one. Unless there's somebody else that I'm missing. So it does seem like the trick there is to use the X button. Stagger people, stun them, reduce the number of people that can act in a second. That mission is now cleared also. Which that means that these missions over here, see, hitting those trees really should give you some gold. Just, even if it's only like 1,000 gold. It gives you something to do while you're driving. Or there should be an invisible breadcrumb trail of LB points that you could follow like in the middle of the road to collect and pick up. That would be very similar to the way Lego games work, is that there's insignificant numbers of little stud currency that you can pick up while running around in a Lego game, in the open world Lego games. Most of the Lego games are not really open world, but yeah. So that tells me that this mission is also different, even though it seems like this is just the same mission again.
3, 2, 1.
I'm gonna kill you.
In this case, maybe you don't need to stun because there's only 3 of them coming at you at the start.
3, 2, 1.
Or it could just be a case that
I'm gonna kill you.
I got unlucky there.
Hey, he's over here.
Right. But see, as I was taking out that other guy, the guy behind me took a swing and hit me, so I don't know how you address that other than just getting lucky or positioning yourself. Like I did, I think, fairly well that time by pulling the enemies
3, 2,
to a corner. I think that's really what this boils down to. Is you should probably be, I guess, in this corner. Interesting. So it spawned more enemies. It like spawned more enemies based on the time more than based on clearing the first 3 groups. So we made significantly more progress there. And that does now feel like this is a different mission than the one before, because it does seem like they've added 3 more enemies. Although they really haven't changed it much, it does seem like they are spawning in the same place. And so you're just getting iterations of the same type of game. It is possible here that it is possible that using the X button instead of using the Y button slows down the process too much. Right, there's definitely a problem around this truck really messing the visuals up. Right.
You're a joke.
So I think the last bit of the trick here is to stay somewhat in this corner against this guy who has this axe and is stronger, and then try to pull them away.
He's over here!
Obviously this would be easier with more damage. And if they spawn anything more around me, that would be a disaster. So yeah, the first time we went through those, we killed 10 people and we got like 20,000. Now we're killing 12 people and we're getting 30,000. So you're getting a higher reward for per kill, but by adding just that extra 3 people under the stipulation of 1 hit and you lose, you are also significantly making the game more challenging. Alright. I'm gonna just run this way. I've probably been down this street, but particularly in this north part of the map, I suspect there are several trash cans that I've missed. Of course, I may not actually find any of them, even if I have missed them. Pirates and ninjas, costume rental, and party goods. We will probably get back to the motel and find that most of the costumes, the t-shirts, have been already collected. And that there's little to no trash cans left to find. I definitely have the feeling that that's the way this is going to play out. Or we're going to have to rethink how and where we're looking for trash cans. You basically need a sound effect to play when you're near a trash can that's unopened. Are we back at the school? It does seem like these might just be randomly respawning because they know I wasted all my money.
I'm gonna kill you.
Alright. Right. Almost got hit there. In this case, I don't think we
I'm gonna kill you.
spawn in any new enemies.
There now.
Those do seem like they might be a little bit stronger because there's 2 charged attacks there. So yeah, I don't know if I'm doing this mission a second time just for money or if I'm doing a different version of this mission. I definitely have a feeling that we're also going to start to see less variety around yeah, the minions. I wouldn't be surprised if we start to see fewer and fewer minions or just the same ones repeated, because thematically it's going to be fairly difficult for 8 remaining enemies to have 8 remaining gangs.
3, 2, 1.
I'm gonna kill you.
I'm suddenly reminded of another game. What? Yeah. There's a game called Crackdown. Crackdown 1 in particular. Crackdown 2 and 3, not so good, that came out somewhere around the time of No More Heroes. No More Heroes may have been a few years earlier. And in Crackdown, you're fighting 3 different gangs and working your way up to the gang leaders as this kind of cybernetic Terminator, RoboCop type character more than a Terminator character. Yeah, I just don't know how you're supposed to handle that group of people. One of the things Crackdown did is they had a pretty decent open world that really was just a collection of like 3 different islands, and they had you jumping around like a superhuman and collecting all kinds of orbs, and that introduced a general collectible that so yeah, if this was an open world game that had orbs throughout it, and there was just like hundreds of them that were breadcrumbing you to collect more of them, that would be a little bit more interesting than the trash cans and the Lovakov balls. I guess in general there just aren't enough collectibles in this game. And there certainly was a point there where you would have an Assassin's Creed level of collect 100 feathers and then collect 100 of something else and collect 100 of something else, where it got very crazy, and games by default would have 3 or 4 100. they would have 300 or 400 different collectibles in them. I'm tired of this. Let's go on and let's go ahead and, oops. Wow, you really don't have to be very close to the point to press A and start a mission.
I'm gonna kill you.
You're a joke.
This might be a case where Y plays a better role.
What a pain.
Although I question that. It definitely seems like X is the way to go.
You're a joke.
I'm gonna kill you.
Right. But you can see how the lock-on spins the character around and spins the camera around. And I can't help but feel like the Wii version of this game would have been way easier. You know what? What if we were, in this case, to take this guy, lock onto him,
You messing with me?
yeah, that extra charge, that extra charged attack not killing on one blow. If I charge it up longer, it might kill on one blow. So now I'm gonna have to walk until I get far enough away so then I can hold A to press the A button. And it definitely seems like it might just be on a straight up timer that these open world missions are unlocking. And yeah, because another one just unlocked. So it definitely feels like there's content here that you don't have to do multiple times if you don't want to, but you would potentially have to do multiple times if you want to buy all the outfits. That comes out as kind of a problem of video games in general, is that you're making the content, you want the players to see the content, but then also you don't want to drive the players crazy by making them grind to get everything. Or in more modern times, they absolutely want to make the player spend infinite amounts of time that they think players have for some reason trying to unlock everything and be completionists. And that just really can't happen, as there are just more and more games and less time to split between the larger number of games. Plus then you throw in microtransaction nonsense and start trying to sell t-shirts instead of giving them away as in-game content. Like, if this game had come out 10 years later, almost certainly the t-shirts would be some kind of DLC pre-order bonus or microtransaction loot box based. If anything, perhaps No More Heroes 2, being a sequel to No More Heroes 1, was able to avoid a lot of that. Plus the No More Heroes series being somewhat still related to Nintendo consoles, they've avoided, I think, some of that. Right. We have a lot of missions here.
May you find your overpass?
And it definitely feels like these are the missions that you are better off doing. Because, yeah. The real experience here, if you want to have a better experience, would be to do the one side job that you have to do each time you're back in the open world, and then take on assassination missions. And you probably could do a couple of assassination missions extra without even doing the side job. And I guess at some point we'll just have to look at the map as far as... Let's hop out of here. Yeah. I'd have to look at the map, I think, in the bedroom to see if I've done all the open world missions and gotten at least a gold on all of those, if that's something I even care about. There may not even really be an achievement around that, so it may not be that important. Yeah. So this lets you do this section again. And yeah, I'm not good at this, obviously. The flaming trail. I thought it was going to have me actually fight them after that, but obviously not. Like, I can't get a good idea of when I'm supposed to be swinging. It definitely feels like it should just let me fight the people like it did in the first time. Otherwise, we now have a different frustrating mission here. And you've got to do something. You can't just move on with the story. So. You would think that the line on the ground would be like an indicator of when the ball hits there. And again, on the Wii version, this probably was super easy. That if you swung within 2 or 3 seconds of the ball being in the right place, it probably was super easy. Now, in all fairness, I probably did play this game on an easy mode when I played this on the Wii version. I guess maybe swing early? Swing really early? Like, could I possibly change this into a first-person perspective and get a better angle on this? And yeah, that was a funny little mini game, but now that you have like an entire assassination mission around it, it doesn't work. I mean, if I can just hit the ball once, I would call this good enough. Like, just get a silver medal and think that maybe there's an achievement for just meddling in any of these missions. Worst case scenario, you do go back and play some of the assassination missions that you have succeeded at. assuming you have succeeded at anything. It is very possible that there's a player out there that didn't even make it past the first couple of mini games to get to the rank 9 assassin. There's definitely also a case here where you could just be getting some pity bucks for playing at all. I'm just like nowhere close. Suffice it to say, I haven't played baseball in real life much, if at all. I may have literally never played a single game of baseball. And I don't play a lot of baseball in video games either. I may not have played any baseball in video games. The forced perspective is just weird, and the camera angle here is weird. Like, I'm nowhere close. And I don't think I'm actually getting any better either. I very possibly am just gonna have to abandon this. See, that seemed like that was too early. There. Yeah. So basically I had to squint there to get that far. And that gets you 27,000. So relatively quickly you could get that done and get some gold. But I guess I would have to now run back to the assassination place and start that mission a second time if I was going to do it a second time and try and go for gold. I can't help but make the assumption that there is going to be another version of that challenge that pops up. Hopefully there isn't, but I would suspect there is. And that would be very frustrating. I don't think a lot of the other sections of the game have those kinds of gimmicks. There is definitely a difference there in having a gimmick to defeat minions compared to defeating the actual boss.
Yep.
We're still like 90,000 short, though. Definitely would have made sense for the game to fast travel you back to the assassination building after doing that, or to just allow the game to fast travel you to it. The fact that there's like a bus stop here implies to me that there could have been a fast travel option.
Travis, welcome.
Right, so we could go do the first one again. We could do that one again if we wanted to. We definitely wouldn't want to do that one again. Let's just move forward.
May you find
The way that is all depicted, it does imply that there may not be a second page of assassination missions, so there might really be only like 10 of them. in the whole game. And you may very well hit a point where you're getting higher rewards just because the game decided that you deserve to get higher rewards, so you start to potentially get 40,000-50,000 gold, or LBs, in doing missions that are extremely similar to the missions we've done up to this point. That would speed up the process, certainly, even if that sounds unfair that you would get paid more for doing the same work. Although at a certain level that is just kind of how a lot of economics works, is that your own credibility or credentials end up with you getting paid more for doing the same amount of work as somebody with less credibility or credentials. Somebody with a doctorate flipping burgers tends to probably, well, I hope there aren't really anybody with a doctorate flipping burgers, but if there was something like that, they probably would get paid more than somebody who's a high school dropout flipping the same burgers.
3, 2, 1.
So you just have to kind of remind yourself, even though we are in this same area, we are not... There we go. That was Pizza Butt Returns. It would be nice if you could just redo that fairly quickly, but I don't think there's a way to do that. So yeah, that was just the exact same mission, and this mission is not that same mission. Like, clearly there should have been more arena areas. Even, like, look here. This parking lot would have made a perfect place for you to walk into the middle and fight somebody else. And they just didn't do that because I assume they ran out of time, ran out of budget, or just were being lazy. I would have to go increasingly out of my way in the wrong direction at this point to start to find extra trash bins. These newspaper stands, which are really something that just don't exist in 2023, they could have been used for something, potentially a hint-giving system. Yeah.
What? Sweet.
Yeah. It would make a lot of sense if you just unlocked fast travel by the next chapter in this open world. Like, it's really not worth it to run around this open world anymore. We did get 50,000
Travis.
gold in that last assignment, so yeah, I could go back and try Pizza Butt 1 and get another 30,000. I could try Pizza Butt Returns and get another 50,000. But obviously these both would be way easier if I had faster movement speed or just faster damage. Mostly just faster damage, increasing your strength. Let's see. We'll take the last mission
May you find
we can take here. And this will more than likely be the last thing we do in this episode. So we're having hour and 40-minute long episodes, and an hour and 40 minutes every other time is being dedicated to running around the open world. Let's see. Because so many of these trash cans are in just like these alcoves,
Yes.
I think I have nearly as much chance of spotting them while driving as I do walking around. Obviously there is a diminished chance a little bit because you're moving so fast and you're just not going to pay as much attention while moving so fast, but yeah, I think the reward of driving around and speeding up the process of the game is better than the risk of missing something. Right. So we're back into the former gym.
2, 1.
And we just have to remember that we don't have to these guys do seem to be fairly weak. So just a couple of Y attacks does seem to open up the possibility of doing a final attack, but notice you don't have the slot machines here, so you're not going to go into a new mode. Had to change things up a little bit there with that attack. There we go. There is a limited number of people you can kill, so they weren't going to respawn. 15 gets me $60,000 and a gold. And see, that was really easy, so I would keep in mind that if I need the amount of money, if I need a big amount of money, 60,000 and 60,000 gold is a big amount of money, which is a relative if, because I suspect as the entry fees go up and up, 60,000 may not be that much money. You have the problem of pressing Y to get off the motorcycle is not actually as good as pressing B to brake. Okay. Yeah. So, yeah. I don't know if I really believe that finding one trash can is an indicator that there are other trash cans in that area that I may have missed. Yeah. The fact that there really is just not that breadcrumb trail of one trash can leading to another trash can.
Yeah. Sweet.
The number on the t-shirt is going to play much bigger roles, but knowing the number isn't actually going to help you any, because you would have had to remember, you'd have to remember where the number of other t-shirts were for that to make any sense. What they could have done is they could have thrown you a bone and said t-shirts spiral out from the hotel in a clockwise pattern, and thus the bigger the number, the further away from the hotel it is. Or they could have labeled the t-shirts, instead of numbering them, by streets and have street names on them to give like an indicator. And that would have been fairly rough too, to go that way. That's really not quite the solution either. You need just an audio feedback of where t-shirts are. So we've gotten to the point where we now have 5 different colored tinted glasses, but the frames of the glasses are exactly the same. So that kind of customization very much should have just been unlocked by default. And then you have different color tints on the same outfit. Again, if you were going to have a custom character creator at the beginning of the game and just have you let you pick from all of this and have everything unlocked, that probably would satisfy more players than locking all of this around purchases that is then locked behind a lot of repetitive gameplay. So we're missing 16, and 16 may be a purchasable t-shirt. 16, 17, and 18. We do have 19 and 20. 16, 17, and 18 I bet are the 3 really expensive t-shirts. And then 20 very possibly is the last one that you can purchase in the shop. And then I don't know what you do between 21 and 60. I guess maybe those just unlock in the shop later on. Let's see. From 61, we have everything up to 72. So the smartest thing to do would be to look for a map that would tell you online where 73, 74 is. And then we're missing what next? Kinda nothing. Interesting. We're missing 96 and 97. And there may not be a 100. And then you're missing 73 and 74. So there may very well be only 4 remaining trash cans to find in the entire game. And unless those trash cans reset and have gold in them, there may very well just not be a reason to look for trash cans, which then would definitely open up the door towards not really paying much attention to the overworld and just racing from point A to point B and not looking for any kind of secrets, unless they unlock some new secrets, which I don't recall there being any more secrets in the game. I'd be surprised if there's new collectibles that show up. There might be one. Here the jeans are at least different in that there's some torn up textures on this original jeans where these are not torn up. And then the belt is just mostly a color swap. And it's interesting how his belt is also on the left there instead of in the center where it normally is worn. As far as the drawer goes, we did get upgrades to the Sabaki, but you can't see those upgrades, and we haven't gotten a new weapon. We may get the opportunity to buy a new weapon later. Alright. I don't expect too many new things to open up in the overworld, so this map is probably going to be fairly useless. And then these free fight missions. Let's see. You get this kind of combination of free fight missions and then the minigame job missions. And there probably is an achievement for maybe getting gold on all of this. Let's see, Snake Hall Assassination Gig 2. It's gold 5. Yeah, we may end up having multiple assassination gigs here. Most of these are gold, so it does seem like for what is being counted, you're doing alright. But that baseball mission is going to be potentially one that would be so difficult that it's not even worth trying to get gold for everything. This really is not the kind of game that has the feeling that 100% completion is that useful, particularly playing it on Steam, where even if you got all the achievements on Steam, it's not really going to be highlighted much. We didn't have any more videos that we could buy. I think our health is fine. We can certainly play with the cat. There's, I imagine, only 3 versions of this that you can do. And obviously this game came out before like John Wick, where John Wick had a dog that was killed, and that was I think that's the movie I'm thinking of. Otherwise you would have like a joking example of the cat getting kidnapped at the beginning of the game, and then that would at least give some more motivation to assassinate these people instead of just being the number one. You know, we didn't make any progress as far as collecting cards because we didn't actually get anywhere in the game as far as the main storyline stuff. Right. It does make some small sense to just use all the save spots since we've got them, but yeah, not that much. The funny thing about this is because there's such a lot of mundane side work in this game, I don't really know who the next person I'm going to fight is. I generally have an understanding, and they show you in general who you're going to fight at the very beginning of the first cutscene before you even launch the game, but I didn't really expect Shinobi to be the second person that I would have fought in the entire game. I thought I was fighting somebody completely different in the Destroy Stadium, So like the order is very fuzzy in my mind. Yeah. And yeah, rankings at this point don't even actually show you the ranking. Instead, it's just showing you how much money you need to pay them. Or like side job menu being this extra menu doesn't really make any sense either. Yeah, there is definitely a abridged version of this game that would have been better, where we just had more of a story work up to each of the assassins and more of a memorable experience towards or just a quicker experience to getting to the assassins. If it were a case that every new chapter, when you were in the open world, there was a new gang that had taken over the town, and that new gang was full of the minions that your next assassination target was working with, that would kind of make some sense. So you would have to like run around the town and kill 100 or 50 of the minions in the open world instead of in specific levels, and then once you've killed 50 of them, that irritates the assassin enough that they invite you to go to a specific place and do the final boss battle. That would have been interesting. Certainly that would have been much more like Crackdown, or much more like what I imagine GTA is, where you have other enemies popping up in the open world instead of the open world being this completely separate environment that does not connect to the rest of the story. Or, you know, the easy thing would have been for them to simply eliminate the open world. And you could certainly mod games like this and just have a save file, a save state of some sort, where you fight assassin number 10, then it fades out and then fades into 2 or 3 hours later of gameplay that is just done automatically for you, at which point you fight assassin number 9 and have a true boss rush element to this experience. Like, if this really was a 4-hour game where you just boss rushed through all 10 of them, that wouldn't have been a problem nowadays. It would have not made this game particularly interesting when it originally came out, but also this game came out on the Wii, so it had basically no competition. There was one other sword swinging failed Wii game that nobody liked, that was released basically as the Wii was launched, and that's about it. It wasn't until Nintendo came out with some first party titles that the idea of sword swinging games started to actually work and play better, and the Nintendo titles were definitely not as mature or bloody as this game is. So pretty much throughout the entire life of the Wii, which was a pretty long life, No More Heroes stood out as being a game with not that much competition, so it didn't really have to be that good. Of course, Grasshopper Manufacturer wouldn't have known that while they were developing the game. Anyways, I don't want to ramble on too much. We're almost at 2 hours. That's going to be it for this recording. As always, I ask you to like, share, subscribe, comment, and watch every second of my videos. If you want to friend or follow me on any social media sites, there's a whole bunch of links down below. And if you want to support me further, there's a link to Patreon, or you can friend me on Steam and get me a game off my wishlist. Thank you for watching. Have a good evening.